Welcome back to the battle camp. So, I've just finished watching the Joshua Miller press conference and all the other little videos and interviews and media roundtables and fucking everything that's been going on today just to make this video. I'm fucking exhausted. I don't want to make this a long one. I just wanted to react and share my thoughts about how shit went down today. So the press conference started with Big Baby Miller and Joshua doing a face-to-face, and then Miller right off the bat gives him an almighty fucking push, shoves him into fucking 2020. Joshua went quite a way back, to be honest. I don't think he was expecting it. He didn't brace himself for it, he didn't brace himself. But yeah, he went back into like those security guards in those cheap suits that were stood behind him, and it all hell broke loose for a little while there. People were holding Joshua back. People were holding Miller back. The one thing that I kind of rate Joshua for is you could tell he was pissed off by what had happened. Like his face and his demeanor changed, but he still had the wherewithal to come back to Miller and kind of ask or demand or challenge Miller to a face-off, and they kind of stared each other out. And actually, I'm not sure whether this was before or after, while the kerfuffle, the melee was going on. But Joshua kind of jumped off the stage because someone in Miller's camp was in the audience shouting stuff at Joshua. I couldn't make out what he was saying, but Joshua kind of jumped off the stage to kind of address what this guy was saying to him. And then they finally sat down, and I could see, because the camera was going on Joshua, and the way he was kind of his hands, like he was kind of tapping the table and stuff like that, you could tell he was thinking about what had just happened. He was angry, and he was kind of trying to keep composed, but the anger, you could see it in his face and his eyes. You could see he was pissed off. So Miller did a good job there, to be fair. Did a good job to get under his skin, if that's what he was aiming to do, and it seems like that's what he wants to do, is to get him to rile Joshua up and get him to act out a character and get under his skin before fight night. So yeah, all that was going on, and then the boring stuff. The guy from Madison Square Garden, he kind of said what they usually say, and then Adam Smith from Sky Sports, the posh guy from fucking Design, that guy, man, his hair and his dishevelled suit and that, he's just one of them proper posh boys, isn't it? But anyway, so he was there, he kind of gave his 2 pence worth. And then Miller, this was my favourite bit of the press conference, Miller and his speech, and kind of how he kind of, first I thought he was just going to say, I ain't got nothing to say, just wait till fight night, but he kind of done this 3 or 4 minute long monologue, and he just kind of really painted a vivid picture of where he's from and what he's been through. And there's no doubt in my mind there's a little bit of exaggeration in there. Maybe not, maybe he genuinely has had this hardship and not knowing where his next meal's coming from and all the other kind of things that he was saying. I don't know. I don't know either way, but it fucking sounded good, I'll tell you that much. It was almost like someone had written a speech from a film or something. Do you know what I mean? And that didn't seem like it was prepared. It just came from the heart. That was enthralling stuff. That really kind of, I really enjoyed that, man. I really enjoyed that. One side note, and this has nothing to do with the guys at the press conference. I was watching a live stream by Sky Sports, and how childish of them to fucking blank out swear words. Like, it's not even on TV, do you know what I mean? It's on YouTube. Oh no, we've got an audience here, we can't let them hear swear words. These men are gonna fucking fight each other. You're gonna make money off it. Just let us hear what the guy's saying, man. If you really need to, just have one of them things going across the bottom of the screen saying, if you're sensitive to strong language, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so annoying. I hate it when they do stuff like that. But anyway, I had to switch to the DAZN stream instead, because the DAZN was uncensored, because it's not a non-linear platform. So Why am I fucking talking like that? So yeah, then I put it on the DAZN one. I had to rewind it and listen properly to see what Big Baby Miller was actually saying. And then it went over to Joshua, and I think Miller kind of fucked up at this point, because he shouldn't have, like, he kept interrupting Joshua, and I understand he's trying to get under his skin and whatnot, but it felt like it started turning into a little bit of a pantomime. Like, the seriousness of the push and the seriousness of the speech that he did, that, like, for me, he done a great job up until that point. And then after that, he just kind of, like, he just kept interrupting, and it just got a bit childish, and it just got a bit like you couldn't really hear what either of them were actually saying. And like, he should have just let Joshua say his piece and then respond if he's got a valid response, because Miller just kept butting in, and then, like, some of the shit he was saying, it wasn't funny, and it wouldn't get under my skin, let alone Joshua's. Like, mum jokes. Your mum's so ugly she looked in the mirror and it cracked. Like, fucking hell, man. You're better than that, Miller. Do you know what I mean? Like, just, like, if you're going to try and say hurtful shit, make sure it hurts the other person. Because if you don't achieve that, you just look like a dickhead. And that's how I felt anyway. I think Miller done a good job with that press conference, man. People were saying how he's a good talker and stuff, and I've seen interviews of his, and yeah, he knows how to kind of verbalize his feelings and what he's thinking. But like, because he just kept butting in, some of the things he was saying weren't hitting, and that took away from the good work he did earlier, in my opinion, anyway. Um, and then they kind of threw it out to the floor for questions, and this also pissed me off because I couldn't hear, like, they didn't have mics for the guys asking questions, I don't think, because on the DAZN stream, at least, I couldn't hear a word of what the questions were, so all I could hear was Joshua trying to answer the questions and Miller butting in and kind of doing childish jokes and mum jokes and stuff like that. one of the one of the things that I found funny was when Joshua said, "I pay your mum's rent. You should be thanking me. I'm the landlord. I'm the landlord," and I'm pretty sure that's from Gigs, isn't it? Because Gigs is a landlord, and Gigs is a rapper over here in the UK. If you're not aware of that, and he's got a new album coming out on Friday. But yeah, um, when he said that made me smile. And there was this other bit where where Joshua said something like, "I don't like that, like something in my mouth, or I don't keep something in my mouth," or something like that. It's something about his mouth, and Big Baby Miller goes, "Yeah, he only likes penises in his mouth." I'm so fucking childish, but it proper made me laugh. If you've seen the press conference, you'll know what I'm on about. But I don't know why I found that so funny. That that little line by Miller, that little jab that he threw for for no reason. That was the kind of thing that you hear in a classroom, and you can't stop laughing when someone says it. But it's fucking childish, but it's funny, in it. That's what press conferences are for. Um, yeah, disappointing with the with the lack of microphones for the guys asking questions, because I could see there was a few of these guys that have YouTube channels in the audience, and they were asking Joshua and Hearn questions about Wilder and, general heavyweight, yeah, but questions about the general landscape in the heavyweight division. And that's one thing that I really kind of want Joshua and Eddie Hearn to engage in, because at the moment, I've made this point before, I feel like a lot of these channels are pro Wilder. So if and when they get the opportunity to speak to him, they don't pose these quote unquote difficult questions to Wilder with regards to, purse splits and, all the bollocks that goes on in the politics that's going on in boxing. The first time I saw it happen was Nesta Gibbs kind of put Wilder on the back foot, and I made a video about this yesterday. First time I heard it happen was yesterday, and I made a video about it. But I want them to do the same thing to Eddie Hearn and Joshua, because I want Joshua and Eddie Hearn to kind of give them their side of the story, and then I want to see how they respond to that, if that makes sense. But yeah, unfortunately, because Big Baby Miller kept butting in, and I really think Big Baby Miller, like, he did a really good job with the press conference. Not from a kind of, oh, let's see if he can sell the fight point of view, but just from a point of view of getting under Joshua's skin, and kind of stamping his authority, making his presence felt. I think he did a good job, and up until he just kept interrupting, and that took away from his earlier efforts, I think. But the good thing about Miller is he's not shying away from the challenge. He's not scared. He seems like he's got balls of steel, and you know he's been fighting for a long time. I know he's got 20 something boxing fights, but he's been doing K1 before that, and he's fought some real top high level kickboxers. So he's not scared to fight, and I don't think for 1 second he's scared to fight Joshua. But sometimes the occasion can get to you, and this is a big occasion. Just the set of the actual set where the press conference was, the screen, the kind of banner behind it, kind of it felt like a big event. Sometimes you watch a press conference and they've got like this shitty little poster stuck behind the the head table, and the head table, you can tell it's one of them cheapy tables with the fucking fold away legs and shit chairs, and it just looks cheap, and like there's a curtain behind and stuff like that. They made an effort to make this feel like a big event, and Miller didn't let that get the better of him. He kind of stood tall, and he represented himself well, all in all. I think it was just the constant butting in that I think kind of, for my personal point of view, and who the fuck am I? I'm just some guy that sits on YouTube making videos. But in my opinion, I would have, I think his words would have had more of an impact if he didn't keep butting in, because it kind of, then it just turned into a bit of a childish pantomime. I've said this before, I'm just going to repeat myself. Yeah, apart from that, there's not really much else to talk about. Eddie Hearn done a nice juicy 45-minute interview with Kugan Cassius before the press conference. I wish he did it after, because you'd be able to see his reaction of kind of what he thought of the event. There is actually a reaction to it. That's only like a 2 or 3 minute long video. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to add, I don't think. Interesting. I've definitely, my interest in the fight, I was already interested in the fight. I watch Hatman a lot, like I've mentioned before, and he always has an accurate kind of read on boxing matches, and kind of breaking down fighting styles and fighters and how they may match up against each other. And some of the things that he said about Big Baby Miller and the potential threat that he has against Joshua, I was already interested, because of what he said, and I openly admit I'm not a boxing guru. I talk mostly about the business side of boxing and the politics of boxing. You won't get me fucking breaking down a fight a day before the fight and telling you who's going to win and how it's going to happen, because I don't know enough about the sport from that point of view. I just follow it from a point of view of the business side of things and stuff like that. But from an actual sporting aspect, I was already interested in the fight. But after this press conference, and how volatile the relationship between Joshua and Miller is, it's increased my interest in the fight, because I don't for 1 second feel like this is a manufactured or staged kind of beef, as it were. I don't think that Miller has got any ill will or any kind of actual hate towards Joshua. I think Miller is doing this with a specific goal of getting under Joshua's skin. But I think that's making Joshua really dislike Miller, and that's gonna obviously, that's gonna grow the animosity between them. So they're going to have another press conference in London next week. I think they said Monday or something like that. So I'd be interested to see how that plays out. But yeah, that's it from me for now. Let me know what you guys thought if you've seen the press conference, and let me know how you guys think it went. Let me know how you think, how I've kind of interpreted the situation in the comments, and if you think I've missed anything or captured things quite well, or I felt if my read is incorrect. Also, I'd really appreciate if you like and share this video if you've enjoyed it, and most importantly, please can you subscribe. My subscriber numbers are going up at a good rate, to be honest. I'm quite happy with the progress I've made in the short time I've been making these videos. But my aim is to get to 100 subscribers by the end of March, and I'd really appreciate it if you haven't hit the subscribe button, if you could do it now. I'll catch you next time.